Hey everybody, it's White Mojo Wolf. I wanted to do a video today reviewing my experience with The Last of Us. Note this is the PlayStation 4 remaster that you can play for free on PlayStation Plus, and that is the version I played. If you see me looking down time to time, that's because I wrote down some notes with my handy dandy pen right here. I just kind of wanted to go in here speaking off the cuff, but I also wanted to kind of have some main ideas. And so when I kind of get lost on a tangent, I'm going to kind of look down here time to time and just kind of steer the boat a little easier, if that makes sense. But you guys know what I do. I give it to you real, I give it to you honest, and you probably noticed I only streamed the game 3 times. I just, and if, that should be a key indicator to kind of how I feel about the game. My experience with the game, let's just start talking to that, like my impressions as I'm playing it. I thought the story started out pretty good. Um, it had, but I thought the whole game was going to be like that. And I might have been a victim to the hype. And, we all fall for that sometimes. People hype it up as if it's one of the best games of all time, and I just feel like they've been looking at it with rose tinted glasses. But the more I think about it, I see why people think that way. But I'm not going to sit here and bash the game, but I will tell you this, just initially to get this thing going. I thought it was like, it's mediocrity. It's just a mediocre game, but it's kind of like dressed up as like a masterful game. But I just thought it was very average. The story in terms of a game was very basic. The characters, at first I liked them, but the more I played on, it kind of dried up. And I'll be honest, I stopped streaming it when I was in Pittsburgh, first getting into Pittsburgh. But I kept playing it for another week. I talked to different people. They said, just get past Pittsburgh. It's the middle of the game. It's a slog. Just get past it. Okay. And then, we got stranded on the shore. We met Sam and Henry, 2 other characters in the game. And I was liking that, but just, I don't know. So what I did the past couple of days was, while I've been working, what I decided to do was watch a Last of Us playthrough. Whenever I stopped the game, I fast forwarded the video to that part, and I watched someone on YouTube finish the game out. Because, I don't want to sit and review a game that I haven't seen all the way through. But I will say that I didn't play it all the way through. I stopped at the, when I get to the old radio tower. And there's an event that happens right around there, and I just haven't really wanted to get on and play it. I just thought, um, this wasn't for me. And with all the games that are available, and it doesn't help Call of Duty's campaign releases today, probably as I'm talking right now, and there's just other stuff to play. There's other stuff I'm wanting to do, and with so many games, I'm just one of those people that's hardwired to where if I don't like it, I just move on. But I did want to give this review and just let you guys know I didn't finish the game. It just was very average to me. But I get where people are coming from, though, so let me get to that. So the positives I have written down for The Last of Us. I did some reflecting. I got on Google and realized this was a PlayStation 3 game. I never got to it on PS3. I was deep in the original MW2 at that time. But I was sitting there thinking, what kind of games, like, what was the culture like when this game came out? Because, excuse me, that has a lot to do with what I think of games. Like, take Elden Ring, for instance. The reason why I like it so much right now is because it's like the anti-Ubisoft game. Everybody wants to do this big open world. Excuse me, objectives all over the place. Go here, go there, go there, go there, go there. Just bing, 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 bong, just flashing at you. Elden Ring is opposite of that. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing half the time. But it was refreshing. But you got to remember, back when The Last of Us came out, what was the main thing in culture? It was zombies. The Walking Dead was huge. And it was at its zenith, the top of its popularity, I believe. And people were craving that kind of content. And then you look at Naughty Dog. They made Uncharted, which is more of like an Indiana Jones Tomb Raider type game. You could tell they were sitting there thinking, maybe we could do something like this story slash game. But like, let's embrace the culture, this World War Z, the zombies and everything. Because every other zombie game was just like Left 4 Dead. You're just shooting zombies in either squads or solos or just you have Call of Duty zombies. It's just basic gameplay. It's like, no, let's tell a story, and I respect that. Um, and the dominant games around that time were not story driven games like The Last of Us, and I think that's kind of why I don't think it's that good, at least in 2022 to me, is because there's story driven games out the ass now. Horizon, God of War, Spider Man. I mean, and that's just the Sony exclusives. There's Days Gone. There's like on Xbox, you have Quantum Break. You've got a Plague Tale that just came out. I mean, the list goes on. But during the time The Last of Us came out, it was just shooter, 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 FPS, FPS, FPS. Like games like Skyrim didn't even come out yet. So something to keep in mind. And Grand Theft Auto 5 didn't exist. Another positive I have for The Last of Us is that it was a very competent remaster. You see a lot of times people are remastering games these days, basically taking a PS3 game, making it a PS4 game. Or kind of what they're doing now, due to the void of creativity, they're taking PS4 games, making them PS5 games. Now, do I think the PS4 to PS5 remaster of Last of Us was needed? Not really. I mean, I thought it looked great. It ran at 60 frames, performance was fine. Excuse me. Allergies are messing with me. I didn't think there were any performance issues at all. And the graphics looked great. I mean, the remaster was done, I think it said 2014. It looked fine to me. So, yeah, in terms of a remaster, give Naughty Dog some credit. Very competent remaster. In terms of the positives, now the third thing I wanted to know is that the story I watched unfold here on this tablet over here, the story would make a great show. And I think HBO realizes that. That's why they're doing The Last of Us next year. And I will admit, I'm excited to see what that entails. I think it's a good story, but I think maybe the better medium for that is to be a television show. And you can flesh out a bit more. You could expand on Joel. You can, even take The Last of Us 2 route if The Last of Us show is doing good and expand on Ellie. But yeah, it was good. But it wasn't this story that I haven't seen before. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what this game is? It is literally Alien. It's literally Alien, but just reskinned with zombies. But it was fine. I thought the big moments were great, and I thought the characters did a good job expressing those emotions. I'll give it that. But it's just the gameplay, having to trog through all the bullshit just to get to those few far between moments. Just the allure wasn't there for me. And good thing about The Last of Us, the show, you don't have to slog through it. HBO's going to cut and filter that out. I mean, you might see a penis or two you don't expect because it's HBO. Come on, that's what they do. It's all about sex and violence and blood and cursing and like you're going to have that. Come on now. But now this last positive I think is probably the biggest impact The Last of Us had on the games that came after it. And this is the nicest thing I have to say about this game, because if you're looking back at 2020 hindsight like I am, I think this game did a great job setting the bar for the future narrative-based games. I really believe that Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, because like Uncharted 1, it's like I told Neil, him and I were talking privately, I told him, I felt a lot of the same about Uncharted 1 that I did with The Last of Us, but with Uncharted, I had 2 and 3 to play next because I had the whole collection. And it was, I felt like The Last of Us encouraged these studios to make more story-driven games. That's why we have games like Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. That's why God of War went story-driven. That's why you have Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone, Detroit Become Human, Quantum Break. I mean, all these games, and they're all fun, and I think they all did aspects of The Last of Us, but better. And I mean, guys, Can't beat that. One second. Let me go off camera here for just a second. I don't wipe my nose. I'm having real bad allergy issues. The weather around here, this is just like a tangent real quick. Like, it's 28 degrees this morning, and then the high is going to be 75. Then the low is going to be in the 30s, and then the high tomorrow is going to be in the 80s. That's hell on your allergies. And I'm having issues getting clip trimmed to run, so I'm having to do all this in one take on OBS. But I wanted to get this review out while it was fresh on my mind. All right, back to it though. I just think the best part of The Last of Us is that it encouraged the game developers of all the other good story-driven games that I love playing to take that idea and expand on it. They gave them the template. It's like, okay, take this game, put some spin on it, put another twist on it, and run with it. And gosh, we've had some great story-driven games, but I think you can tell The Last of Us had a lot of inspiration on that front, and that is a great thing about that game. Now, with the positives, there are negatives. The negative was the actual gameplay. I just felt like it was real basic, and it was just, I don't know. But for a PS3 game, it would have been on par for the course, but with how games are now and just the limited creativity you had and just how things ran, and I don't know, it's like you can tell they clearly made the story first and made the gameplay second. And with that being said, I feel like they should have, doubled down on that instead of having all these long sequences of fighting humans and stealthing around. It's like, okay, we get it. Let's get around the zombie real quick and get back to it. I mean, I just felt like, but at the time, this was kind of a new thing, so knowing what you know now, I'm kind of curious to see if The Last of Us 2 took some of these things and actually did something about them. Now, this note right here, this third note, really bothered me, and it really made it hard for me to get back in it. The stealth AI was horrible. Now, I'll be the first to admit, and you see on the streams I did of this game, I'm not good at these stealth games. I don't have the patience for it. I'm more of a running gun type. That's why my KD ratio on Call of Duty is horrible. That's why I'm not good at shooters. But I have fun playing them because that's my play style. And I just felt like the stealth AI was horrible because you were getting both extremes. There were times I was right beside one of those clickers. They see based off movement. I'm sitting there walking right beside it. Doesn't see me. I'm able to shiv it and kill it. And then there's other times, especially with the human NPCs in particular, it's like I think I'm all clear. I'm sitting there as Joel. I do some listening, making sure I'm good and I can pick this one guy off because I've played Assassin's Creed before. I got to get the gist of that stuff. And so I was kind of using some Assassin's Creed logic, and like the AI was too sensitive. It knew exactly where you were. Even if you're hiding behind something, they just flat out stare you down. You know what I mean? That's kind of why I wanted to know if The Last of Us 2 did some of that a little better. Leave a comment if you think so. But just in terms of like the story-driven game and everything, I just thought, looking back, and I also this past weekend played a little bit of Uncharted 1 just to kind of, I fired up my PS3 and booted up Uncharted, and I just think it did what The Last of Us wanted to do a little better. Granted, the story was just kind of, you had the jock adventure and just, the basic tropes of the Indiana Jones stuff, but I don't know, it wasn't about stealth really, it's about exploring. And the puzzles were better, but, I think the key note I have and the key point I wanted to make with this review down here is that I think my review and my experience with this game would have been better at launch. Like if I were to play this game when it first came out, at the zenith of all the zombie culture and everything, I probably would give this game a 9 out of 10. I would be hyping it up. I would think that game would have left a huge impression on me. And it's kind of a shame that I miss out on some of these games like this and I only come to them years later. And I feel like this is just one of those experiences to where, like, if I would have triggered and pounced at the opportunity to play this game, you know, when it was on PS3, that era, I would have really loved it. I would have had a probably completely different opinion than I do now. But the fact that I am playing it in 22, and the fact that, you know, I'm only getting to it years later and I'm reviewing it now, that's probably why years later I just think it's a mediocre experience. But I wish I could have experienced this game when I first came out. But unfortunately, years later, I'm experiencing it and it's just a mediocre experience to me. But I did wanted to see the game. I was curious to see the hype and everything around it, but I will admit, every time I booted up the PlayStation, part of my little Shocktober event, I just wanted to play something else. But I really did give it an honest, I really did give it an honest try. And other than that, that's pretty much all I have to really say about The Last of Us. I wish I liked it a bit more, but just really didn't. But that's all I really have for you guys. Hot Mojo will signing out. Peace.